Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul Donaher, and I'm Director of Client Services here at Radius Illumination. Thanks, everybody, for attending today's webinar. The topic will be on how to achieve deeper connections with customers and prospects using new and exciting immersive qualitative techniques. The webinar today is going to be given by two of our Vice Presidents, Radius Illumination, Joanne Sutt and Brooke Fink, who both have a great deal of experience in creating qual insights across a broad number of industries and in different categories. The webinar, as usual, will be scheduled for about 45 minutes. You can type a question on the screen into the software that you would like to ask. As you hear something come up, feel free to ask questions. And of the 45 minutes allotted, Joanne and Brooke are going to speak for about the first 30 minutes. So we should have good time for Q&A at the end. So please feel free to send us any questions that you have, and we'll get those in at the end. And to start with, I believe Joanne will start. So over to you, Joanne.
Thanks, Paul. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us, everyone. The focus of our webinar today will be how to drive deeper human connections and uncover more authentic insights through immersive, non-traditional, qualitative methods and approaches. The agenda today, we'll first share a bit about who we are and our beliefs at Radius Illumination. Then we'll go through 5 key principles to driving deeper connections, and finally, how all of these methods lead to being an effective storyteller and bringing insights to life for your stakeholders. At Radius Illumination, we call ourselves people explorers, strategy guides, and breakthrough idea igniters. This really speaks to the breadth of guidance that we're able to give our clients beyond just research. We have a very diverse team, which allows us to tap into a wide variety of academic backgrounds, industry expertise, and category experiences across both B2B and B2C. And this leads to more creative and innovative solutions for our clients. Our passion is understanding people. We believe in the importance of connecting what people do with what they say. We infuse observation and storytelling into much of our qualitative research, including a lot of what we'll talk about today. We believe the most effective decisions are made from insights that are synthesized from multiple approaches. And those insights are meant to inspire action within the organizations that we serve. So today, we're going to focus on 5 key principles to driving deeper human connections. This will include the importance of creating an authentic environment, how to infuse observation to maintain behavioral economics, why it's important to understand the consumer context, and how we are leveraging emerging technology in research, as well as the benefit of tapping into your customers' creativity. And then finally, talking through how all of these methods lead to being an effective storyteller and bringing insights to life. So first, we'll talk about creating an authentic environment. So creating an authentic environment, it leads to a more natural conversation. Creating a comfortable, familiar environment for your customers allows them to talk more naturally, as if they're talking to a friend. And this is important when you're trying to build a team that has empathy towards their customers, because we believe true empathy for your customers happens when you're immersed in their daily life and usage context. When you practice empathy with your customers, you can uncover emotional connections with your brands, products, and services. In fact, at Illumination Radius, we actually offer empathy training for clients who want to learn how to more deeply understand their customers through research. And creating a natural environment is the first step in facilitating a more authentic experience. So one of the ways that we've created a more authentic environment is through our cafe chat. This is one example where we immerse into a very natural and comfortable behavior within a customer's life in a location that they're very familiar with. We include a guided discussion, of course, that occurs in this relaxed and neutral location with obviously no backroom. This keeps all clients and teammates engaged and interested in the conversation. And we do leverage lots of activities that we would traditionally use in research, using templates and imagery, messaging, STEM, video. We just use it in the context of a very natural environment. And we also often include customer pre-work that can provide rich stories of who the consumer is and their holistic needs, and can offer audio and video record while we're at the cafe chat if desired. So this case study, just to give an example of how we leveraged cafe chats, was for a major food company who needed to get foundational learning and concept and marketing feedback from a younger, more health-conscious consumer. So we believed that this consumer would respond more positively within small groups in a natural cafe setting. So consumers were asked to complete pre-work, including photos of their refrigerator, pantries, and they brought those along to the cafe chat. The research resulted in one lead concept that came out, as well as many ways to optimize it. And the surprising thing was the team also discovered some very unexpected tensions between those consumers' aspirations and the need for convenience. And we believe that came out due to the natural environment that we were in. Another example of creating an authentic environment is to hold research at a central location home or apartment, which we've done a lot for a lot of our projects. We often conduct them at a rental property where we can bring all respondents in and easily replicate behaviors that they would do typically in their homes. This approach is great for in-context product testing, observing customers using your products, and also in a setting like this, you can efficiently test things, such as online shopping, cooking, cleaning, home management, playing, family activities, and more. And since it's a central location versus an individual home, which we oftentimes do in homes as well, this, though, creates a very efficient way to see many customers on a short period of time. The second principle we'll talk about is focusing on gaining authentic insights through behavioral observation. And let me tell you what that means. So observing in-the-moment behaviors in the context of a real environment helps more clearly understand the motivations behind your customers' actions, behaviors, and decisions. This often requires us to observe first and then act. Understanding the context within which your customers make those decisions is critical. They often have a hard time articulating why they make certain choices, but when you first understand their context, it can lead to clues that explain those choices and allow us to dig deeper into motivations, thoughts, and emotions right there in the moment. So one methodology that we've created is called Retail Live, and that's to do just this, observe and ask. Retail Live integrates in-the-moment observation and intercept to holistically understand behavior. In this approach, we observe and capture real customer behavior in the moment. These are naturally occurring shoppers or customers, so they're not pre-recruited. In the past, only traditional and relatively expensive controlled market tests could answer these questions. So through Retail Live, we are able to access the customer experience for both areas of satisfaction or frustration, and also intercept those same customers based on specific behaviors or triggers that we're interested in. For the CPG industry, we've often used Retail Live. In partnership with the retailer, we can place new packaging or prototype products on real store shelves. And with these products in the real shelf context, we're able to assess stopping power and engagement with the product, observe general shopping patterns and navigation through various aisles or departments of a store or experience. We can uncover any confusion or frustration within the customer experience, and we can assess new packaging and its effectiveness among competition at the shelf. We can test the effectiveness of a display or signage and determine ways to optimize it. And of course, understand any purchase barriers in the moment when they're there shopping in the category. Within a Retail Live study, we typically integrate 3 distinct levels of data. The first is the quantitative level of behavioral observation. And here we capture observations such as the shopping party, the dwell time in the aisle or the department or in the area, engagement with specific brands, products, as well as purchase. So if we are testing a new product, was the product picked up and intended to purchase? The second level is survey specialists can intercept shoppers. This can either be at random or based on a very specific behavior, as if, for instance, if someone engaged with a new product, picked it up, looked at it. And here we can capture specific purchase choice, package or signage recall, assortment perceptions, product appeal, many things. And third, the third level is we can have a professional moderator who is on site as well, who can select customers to discuss more in-depth things such as motivations, feedback on packaging, assess other designs, and category and brand perceptions, purchase motivators or barriers, new product understanding, and of course, you can imagine for food companies, we can obviously test new flavors, do a taste test, things like that. So in a recent Retail Live study, this is a case study that we did just a couple months ago, we tested a new dish care product in the context of a real Meijer store. We observed and measured the level of engagement with the new product, and then we intercepted to further assess product understanding, purchase interest, and or barriers to purchase. And as a result, the client had a strong story as well as the data to support it to provide a recommendation on shelving principles with the launch of their new product.
Our third principle talks about taking the time to understand consumer context. By this, we mean spending extended time with consumers to understand how your category specifically fits into their everyday life. Observing consumers over a period of time allows you and your team to gain real, in-the-moment, authentic insights behind their attitudes and behaviors. This allows consumers to fit an activity into their daily lives like they normally would, rather than being asked to do an activity right there in front of you, maybe in a focus group room or a cafe chat. You're able to capture it, in their own environment and in their own ways. Being in the moment captures more authentic emotions, tensions, and insights. One methodology we've come up with to do this is called a pop-up community. These communities can have a time span that spans from 1 week up to a more longitudinal period of time, like a few months or even a year. Consumers interact weekly through online stories, videos, and images to provide continuity for understanding behaviors or reactions to potential ideas at a natural pace. Pop-up communities cover a wide geography and reach consumers in their environment, including when they're on the go. We can right-size the design based on what you need in order to deliver on your business objectives efficiently and at a lower cost compared to an in-person longitudinal panel. Insights can be linked to quantitative studies to build a comprehensive story. And our platform is also device agnostic, and respondents can participate and answer questions, capture pictures or videos, participate in polls or live chats at their convenience. One example of a pop-up community is where we created a community of moms, all who had young children from around the U.S. And we captured any baking activity they did for 5 weeks throughout a holiday season. This included any treats they were making for schools, parties, or even just a typical family celebration. The moms were able to complete the study on their own time, in their own home, and in their own way. From the pictures and videos and discussions with these moms, the client was able to capture many insights throughout each step of the process, from planning the treat to baking with the kids to consuming it. These insights were brought to life in a video montage to brief the agency and inspire the next innovation.
Okay, now moving to our fourth principle, we're going to talk about leveraging technology that is inherent to your customers' daily lives. So similar to the benefit of being with customers for a longer period of time, we've developed ways to use technology to get more organic insights. First, technology can make it painless for the customer. We ensure that moments of contact do not feel intrusive or awkward and is a much more natural part of their life. Technology can facilitate feedback in the right moment, not just when we recruit them into research, but right when it's happening. As thoughts and ideas are fresh, the customer provides real-time visceral feedback. The feedback is easier, more natural, taking place as they go about their daily lives. And we can integrate these new technologies with other research solutions. We talked earlier about how we believe the most effective decisions are a result of multiple research approaches. In this same light, we typically integrate technology with other research methods to further enhance and validate the learning. So one example, so mobile would be an obvious tool, and I think we're using obviously a ton of mobile today, but another approach which is in use in many of our research approaches is a more recent and innovative example, our voice-activated surveys. With this approach, respondents just talk rather than always having to answer via mobile phone or laptop. This creates a more rewarding experience for respondents, as using this technology creates a two-way dialogue and facilitates a more natural conversation. We can pose questions as well as encourage respondents to volunteer thoughts, positive experiences, frustrations, or share relevant parts of their everyday lives, all in the comfort of their home. And it's a nice new way to capture diary input for more longitudinal studies as well. So some applications of this voice-activated survey methodology that we've created, of course, consumer immersions and product reactions. So if we're testing products with them, it allows them to provide instant, in-the-moment reactions, both emotional and functional. We get real-time customer journey feedback. So if they're in the process of purchasing a car or completing a DIY project or understanding the e-commerce shopping journey, we can get that feedback right there in the moment. Like I said earlier, longitudinal studies showcasing how customers engage with products and categories over the long term, or capturing real-time experiences and routines to provide immediate, unfiltered insights into the decision process. We can get inspiration from consumers for marketing efforts, creative campaigns, and new product ideas. And even just as a way to learn how customers are using voice-activated technology with your industry or category and how you can integrate it into your customer experience. We can understand how shoppers make lists, plan for meals or parties, how they prep for holidays, and many other occasions, or how they just go about their daily lives and routines. Another innovative technology that we're leveraging in research is virtual reality. So we've developed the ability to conduct virtual reality research across the globe with our portable virtual solution. This brings to life your customer's experience through VR. My sons actually have an Oculus Quest, and for anyone who is familiar with Job Simulator, it's pretty amazing what VR can do, and the possibilities are limitless. Our clients can make better package and store design decisions by bringing their retail, shopping, and customer service environments to life in 3D in a high-resolution virtual experience. Some of the ways that we are already using this approach are for in-context shelf or aisle tests, store of the future layouts, displays, and signage tests. So we did a recent project on a baby product, and our client needed to test several different shelf designs to determine which would be the most effective and shopper-friendly. The end goal was to sell that shelf design into a major retailer. Virtual reality allowed us to more efficiently create all the various shelf design options and test them with parents in the context of a virtual shelf. And in just a matter of days, we were able to test multiple shelf scenarios and narrow it down to one recommended option.
Now for our fifth and final principle, tapping into the power of your customers' creativity and imagination. Your customers oftentimes have some of the best ideas to solve their own personal tensions and wish fors. When recruited with this idea in mind and moderated using our proven idea-generating approaches, these customers can easily come up with your next big idea and take pride in providing their ideas to you. One way to leverage your consumer to generate ideas is through a method we like to call Consumer Connect, which is a fun and interactive way for your team to be front and center with the consumer, ideating right along with them. Additionally, this methodology leverages your team's existing knowledge and exposes them to consumers in a safe, direct way that builds stronger insights, team collaboration, and long-term gut instinct to make strategic decisions. There are many benefits to this methodology, but some that stick out to me are that it follows a proven team learning and co-creation model. There's a natural team building that takes place throughout the process for you and your team. Insights are internalized by all, since you're all sitting right there with the consumers or the customers. The research is creative and conversational based and is centered around pre-planned activities. And there are proven analysis techniques that we use to move the team from just a list of questions or objectives to a shared internal wisdom and strategic decision at the end. One example of this is a project we did for a youth nonprofit who wanted to understand how to engage their audience in order to increase their donations. They already had a ton of volunteers, but they didn't really have a ton of funding. So Consumer Connects were leveraged as a way to engage upper management directly with their customers and create ideas alongside them. To do this, we first led a training session with the board of directors prior to the Consumer Connects to ensure alignment on key questions, understanding on how to collect the data, and training on the analysis and synthesis process. We then conducted two 2.5-hour Consumer Connects, followed by a 4-hour client analysis and synthesis session, which enabled the team to understand what makes people donate money versus donate time, and also understand feedback on the specific programs and ideas that they generated and brought in. The core team came out incredibly energized because they felt in touch with consumers and had better ability to connect ideas, giving them a more holistic plan. Another methodology that we like to use called Ideation Plus, and it's great for quickly moving your team from insight to action. Using this fast ideation approach, you get inspiration, ideation, and direction in less than a week. It all starts with leveraging the team's current knowledge, then building on it with additional customer engagement as inspiration. An engaging innovation session is then leveraged to take the learning and inspire idea development to quickly create a vast array of commercial or product innovation ideas. The session includes an overnight quantitative test to focus the team on the key ideas, and it ends with the team reviewing the quant data the next morning and optimizing their ideas based on the customer feedback. One example of this was a girls' toys company, which was looking to reinvent their stores to drive more traffic inside the store versus online. To do this, we leveraged the Ideation Plus approach, starting with conducting shop-alongs with moms and daughters to understand how they currently shop the store, drivers, barriers for coming more often, and wish fors. These were followed by co-creation sessions with the girls and a brainstorming session with the team to create and optimize ideas. Over 100 ideas were brainstormed, and 15 of them went into an overnight screener. The next morning, the team reviewed the results and optimized all of the mid and bottom tier results, getting immediate quantitative feedback, and then they were then able to optimize them and align on which ones to move forward with that day.
Okay, so finally, telling the story. So as researchers and marketers, we all know it is so important how to tell the story or how you tell the story to make sure that it's remembered and accepted throughout your organization. So whether it's a massive quant study or a foundational ethnographic research, it's the story that gets shared and remembered throughout the organization. So when you practice empathy and employ more implicit research methods like the ones we've talked about today, the storytelling is very easy because by creating an authentic environment, observing before asking, taking the time to understand the customer's context, leveraging technology they are comfortable with, and tapping into their creativity, the insights you glean will be honest and authentic. And they will most definitely tell an impactful and memorable story within your organization. So thank you very much for listening, and we can now open it up for questions.
Very good. Thank you, Joanne and Brooke. We do have quite a few questions that have been typed in here. The first one, I'll go in reverse order here. It was around Consumer Connects, the piece that you spoke, I think, last to Brooke. The question is more or less, from internal stakeholders, who should be involved? Should it be senior, junior, C-suite? And do you have a point of view on who to involve to get that to work best?
Sure, we can offer our opinion on that. So really, the level doesn't necessarily matter. It depends on how close someone is in on a project. So the core team can typically span all the way across from marketing, finance, product development, R&D, insights. It's really, really great in those types of methodologies to have a cross-functional team. Now, at what level? My only encouragement or advice would be to make sure that the team is very comfortable with who's involved, and so that everyone is in a place where they can focus on learning from the consumer rather than being too worried about anything political internally. So, I've been in cases where we've had both mixed, and it definitely helps when everyone kind of has the same goal moving forward and looking for, the best outcome and there to learn from the consumer. So, yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, and I think also if you're in a healthcare category, making sure that if we're designing something around a package or something that is going to be put in front of consumers, having legal there, or at least be close to the process, can be helpful too. Next question for you guys. This is obviously in a qualitative environment. Have we found that respondents respond differently when we're using the voice-activated approach? Now, I don't think we would have any quantitative data on that, but in your experience, Joanne and Brooke, have you heard differences in how people respond, or is it similar to another approach?
No, I would say that from what we've heard so far, people are just very much more natural with their responses, and it's very much more accurate than when we're trying to have them recall. So obviously there might be heightened frustration that you hear in their voice based on their responses if they're struggling with something, or we think about from a new mom standpoint, if she's with her baby, you might hear crying in the background. So these are things around the context of their life that we would hear through this, that we would not get through bringing them into a facility or having a scheduled interview with them. So we've found that the responses are just more natural and far more accurate in terms of their, what's really happening in the moment.
If you think about it in terms of like journaling or kind of capturing behaviors, I think we found that consumers tend to be more detailed in it or not forget steps. So maybe if they're, say, for example, how they put on makeup, like, well, you might just say, these are my 3 or 4 steps. But then when they're actually talking out loud while they're doing it, well, all of a sudden it's actually 10 steps. They just, kind of bucket things together or skip over some things that are maybe more habitual that they don't really think about. They just do because they've been doing them for years. So I think it has the ability of getting at a lot of the natural behaviors in a more detailed way.
And a question related to that, still on the voice-activated approach. Are there products or industries where we have done that, or ones that we could recommend where it could be possible? Basically a question around where we've done it or where we could also recommend it being done in the future.
So I think that it is really great for anything where you want to be right there with the consumer that's in a natural way. So think about cleaning or, cooking, being in the kitchen, being in the bathroom where you're getting ready, or in your closet while you're picking things out, where you would administer medication and things like that. So, we want it to be in a natural environment for the customer so that, it's natural that they're speaking and talking and documenting it. But any of those types of categories where, they can be totally hands-free, they don't have to be holding a laptop or holding their phone, they can literally be wiping down their counter and talking and explaining why they're doing that, or why they're, put the dishes away in their dishwasher, and taking the survey at the exact same time.
Question just popped up. Back to the sort of design sprints and stakeholder involvement. Specific question on how have you helped overcome stakeholder skepticism about design sprints? I don't have any more context on that from Jim or Jill, I can't see. But in any ways that we've helped our research clients work with their internal stakeholders to see the value in what we're doing.
Right. Yeah, I think it definitely shows the importance of doing either a kickoff meeting, a solid pre-brief, and even some pre-work leading up to that. So the most successful ones I've seen have been where those stakeholders are in on the process from the very beginning, aligned to what we're trying to learn, and and someone's explained and gone through the whole process of what's going to happen. I think those are the most successful, so bringing them in from the very beginning. I think it's in situations where they're invited and they show up, the day of the research, where they've been less engaged. I think that's where it can be difficult because we haven't had the chance to really let all those thoughts and opinions come out naturally before we start, and that we all align. So, we get involved at different levels with our clients in these projects, but the ones I've seen that are most successful is where we can be part of that initiation of the project and really lay out what the goal is, what the process is, and what they're going to end up with in the end, and bringing everybody on board. Whether it's through a phone call, I know sometimes executives are hard to pin down for those types of things, so it could be a phone call, it could be a webinar, pre-meeting type thing. So I hope that.
I think, and then also, if you could add on the overnight screener, getting some quantitative data immediately around your ideas that you've come up with, that's very telling to any level, being able to see that quant data right away.
Yeah. I just threw that one in. Back to the sort of ones prior to that. Sorry for jumping around, guys. We had a question around your Retail Live product, and you mentioned prototypes. Does that mean we could have multiple versions of the same product or packaging to test over the course of a single day? How does that work specifically?
Sure. Typically, if you recall from the Retail Live, there are 3 different levels of data collection. So if we're doing kind of that level 1 and 2, which is more of a quantitative gathering, we're observing many customers over the course of several days. We would want to keep the same prototypes on the shelf so that we can gather as much data before we switch that out. So what we do in those situations is we leverage multiple stores, and each store would be a specific cell or leg, and maybe there would be a different prototype on the shelf. Now, if we end up doing primarily the qualitative, or that 3rd kind of level within Retail Live, then we have a lot more flexibility to, I would still say, spend the morning intercepting people regarding one prototype, and then maybe at noon switching to another one. And then maybe within the interview, we could, expose them to a couple different prototypes. But that's pretty much how we would handle it when there's when it's more quantitative. You would want to keep the same prototype on as long as you can.
Okay. I have one more question on the screen here, folks. If you've got more, we certainly have a few more minutes. Back to the start of the conversation here, guys. You mentioned that you can provide empathy training for your clients. Could you tell us more about that, what it entails? Are there specific industries within which you have done so?
Well, Brooke and I are not the experts on this. We definitely have someone in-house that typically leads that. But we've typically conducted that for our clients that are getting ready to go into a ethnography type project. So whether we're going to go in home with consumers or whether we're going to have them in a consumer connect situation, we would typically offer that empathy training so that they have the right frame of mind going into that research, because it does really shift the way you think about what the consumer or the customer is telling you. It teaches you how to not just sympathize or understand what they're telling you, but to flip that into your own experience and empathize with a similar scenario that you may have had personally. So it's a full training to get people in the right mindset as they're going into ethnographic research. So we can definitely follow up if someone's interested in what that looks like and how we've done that in the past. But that's what I know personally.
Yep. Yeah, we can do an abbreviated version in about 2 hours, or we can do more of an extended, like, deep dive empathy training in a half day or even a full day. So we've done both.
Good. Well, folks, that's all the questions on my screen. Thank you, everybody, for attending today. We have recorded this, and we'll send you guys who have attended, we'll send you a recording of the webinar. But thank you for your questions. Thank you for your engagement. And we'll have another webinar probably in November, and hope you'll join us for that. Thanks again. Bye.